Hello, I'm Marina Kim, bringing you the latest updates from Kazakhstan. Here are the top stories. Colleagues of the Health Minister Jaksalik Daskaliyev avoid commenting the recent developments. Petropavlovsk and Kostanay residents report about the rapid increase of bread prices in the region. Imprisoned oppositionist Yermek Narymbayev is hospitalized in a serious condition of the 46th day of his hunger strike. A constructor working on the erection of a cableway for the 2011 Asian Winter Games died after falling into the tract of the Malaya Almatinka River. Supposedly, the 36-year-old engineer from Turkey, Erden Kibar, failed to observe safety rules and caught onto the helicopter's external suspension. The ambulance and rescuers at the scene could not help the worker after the 150-meter high fall. The official investigation of the incident is currently underway. Interestingly, it is carried out by the Labour Ministry, which charges the foreign contractor with non-observance of safety regulations. At the same time, there are no claims whatsoever to the Kazakh Emergency Ministry, which owns the helicopter. In accordance with the contract, the Kazaviaspas helicopter was transporting concrete, and when it flew near the pole, a worker appeared there out of nowhere in violation of all safety regulations. Somehow he caught the helicopter, fell down 150 meters and died. All company employees were told by their management not to disclose any information about the incident to the press. When workers see cameras, they immediately attempt to flee. However, an anonymous employee did say that the tragedy transpired differently and the dead construction worker was not the only one who violated the safety regulations. The man fell from the helicopter. Now I have to go. Health Minister Jaksalik Daskaliyev regained consciousness and his condition is gradually improving. The information was revealed on Tuesday by a member of parliament Maral Itigulov, an avid supporter of the official. Meanwhile, Daskaliyev's colleagues in the cabinet are still very careful in their statements over the simulation.
Could you please tell us, is it possible for your colleague Jaksalik Daskaliyev to feign his illness? Tuesday was the first time the entire cabinet gathered together after the arrest of the health minister. The meeting is online, yet still without the participation of the press. Reporters are trying to catch ministers at the doors asking about the condition and future fate of the high-ranking patient. The obtained information is quite cryptic. I cannot really comment this because I don't know the case materials and I'm not involved in the investigation. I can tell you again, I will not answer your questions. The MPs are more forthcoming, although the commentators are all the same. The initiator of an inquiry to the Prosecutor General Daskaliyev's fellow townsman Maral Itigulov still denounces the accusations of feigning, believing the arguments could be made only about the severity of the illness. The MPs adds that the minister indeed feels better now. Daskaliyev's lawyer called Tuesday morning and said the minister regained consciousness, but he is still obviously very ill. He is still connected to life-supporting equipment, hence it is wrong to say he is feigning the illness. Only the investigation authorities are happy to openly discuss the case. The deputy chair of the anti-corruption agency is ready to comment on the matter. The preliminary investigation concerning all episodes is underway. As for Mr. Daskaliyev, we do not have any question for him yet, but they are accumulating. His direct involvement in the current investigation activities is not necessary. The reasons for the criminal persecution of the health minister remain a mystery, while new rumors keep piling up. Some say that the official fell victim of a political conspiracy. Only the accused will tell whether this is true, but only after he will be able to talk. After all, doctors claim that the minister lost his speech.
In the meantime, the version of a political conspiracy theory which could explain Daskaliyev's persecution is slowly gaining momentum. On Tuesday, the news agency Kaztek, referring to its own sources, reported that the president's executive secretary Saribay Kalmurzaev also suffered a massive stroke. The agency's source claims that Kalmurzaev likely had a stroke over the weekend and now needs long-term treatment. At the same time, Kalmurzaev's assistant Bulat Sultanbayev refuted this information, saying that his boss is perfectly fine, still in Kazakhstan, but simply not at work. Previously, the internet portal Respublika published an anonymous letter explaining one version of the health minister Daskaliyev's persecution. Supposedly, the so-called Southern Group, headed by Kalmurzaev, is exacting revenge against the head of the president's administration, Aslan Musin, for the dismissal of the education minister Zhansiyid Tuiminbayev. To the other news, the growth of bread prices has caught on to the bread-rich regions, report Petropavlovsk and Kostanai's news agencies. The cost increased by 3 cents on average over the last few days. Bakers, millers, suppliers and farmers all found themselves blamed for the situation. Find out next about real reasons for the unexplainable price fluctuation.
The skyrocketing bread prices were recently reported in Petropavlovsk and Kostanai. Residents of these cities already feel a serious blow to their pockets. The situation could significantly damage the reputation of the authorities, which didn't follow on the promise to hold back the prices of the strategic product. The prices have risen, but I want to know why. Of course, I'm upset. Everything, including milk, eggs and butter, became more expensive. How should we feel about the raise if pensions remain on the same level? Since early fall, the bread prices increased in Semipalatinsk, Kostanai and Petropavlovsk. Their residents pay up to 5 cents more per every loaf of pan bread. In Ust-Kamenogorsk, the raise was registered only in September, while in southern Kazakhstan it happened back in the beginning of summer. Now the authorities say that bread will cost additional 4 cents in Zhambyl and the region starting October 7th. The Competition Protection Agency blames producers in price fixing and promises to find and punish the perpetrators. We will do this not only for the bread market, but also flour, buckwheat and vegetable oil, everything that went through the unreasonable price jumps. The necessary measures will be taken against those responsible. Nevertheless, experts admit that although these measures are adequate, they would have been more effective had the officials taken them beforehand. Prices for flour products already increased last summer in the South Kazakhstan region. It could have been easily predicted that the same will happen in the north, and all necessary steps could have been made earlier. There are no real reasons for the price besides the banal speculation. According to the most pessimistic projections, this year's harvest can double surpass the domestic consumption, even after the deduction of exports. Unfortunately, the facts say that no matter what, the most popular product continues to grow in price across the country.
The president's address to the nation, which Nazarbayev made back in January, was publicly explained on Tuesday to the employees of the bakery Aksai Nan, Communications University and company LEU. Apparently, the old message never reached ordinary citizens of the country, while the use of the Soviet propaganda methods did not help the matters either. The president addresses all of his messages to everyone. The problem is that some people do not understand that they are also addressed. Everyone has different understanding and not all can catch the nuances. Therefore, the messages have to be explained live, just like live music, which is much better live than pre-recorded or on the internet. Several dozen bakers were gathered in the session hall during their lunch break. The lecture lasted for almost an hour, with the key message being that the crisis is over and the worst is behind. That is why it is necessary to work twice as harder, while the state has already taken care of the rest. Interestingly, the after-lecture Q&A had nothing to do with the message. People were rather interested in the lack of 3 kindergartens and municipal housing, as well as the real handler of state budget. In response, the speaker said he is not in charge of the social sector issues. 8 residents of the micro-district Bakai in Almaty announced a hunger strike following the failure of the city authorities to execute Prime Minister's instructions. Over 15 people are still unable to legitimize their land plots. Local residents have even written a letter to President Nazarbayev demanding to create a specialized government commission to resolve the issue and conduct an independent investigation of the situation.
On Tuesday, 8 residents of the infamous Bakai micro-district on the outskirts of Almaty launched an indefinite hunger strike. The protesters want the government, General Prosecution Office, financial police and the country's MPs to investigate the situation with the legitimization of their land plots. We believe this list includes relatives of all high-ranking officials from the district administration, internal affairs department, city administration, land management committee, etc. I'm absolutely sure of this. The land issue intensified back in 2006 when the authorities demolished more than 300 houses illegally built in Bakai. The clashes with the police are continuing to this day. When the dialogue with the authorities has finally started, the number of those willing to receive Bakai registration has unexpectedly grew. The 50 families that remained without registration attempted to find justice everywhere they could, including at the meeting with the Prime Minister. Unfortunately, everything was in vain. The local land committee claims that the protesters already have a place to live, thus their claims are groundless. We never turn people away, always trying to resolve all their issues, and sometimes we even adjust the city master plan. The hunger strikers say that their land plots are the only thing that they have left. People intend to continue the action until the authorities will start resolving the issue.
The imprisoned oppositionist Yermek Narymbayev was hospitalized in serious condition on Tuesday, the 46th day of his hunger strike. According to his spouse Zoya Narymbayeva, the activist's condition has quickly deteriorated due to the hunger strike in protest of the unfair court ruling. Previously, Narymbayev was sentenced to 4 years for insulting the judge and resisting arrest. Early on Tuesday, the oppositionist's family and friends held a press conference in Almaty asking Narymbayev to stop the protest action and appealing to the government to revise the court decision.
The 46-day-long hunger strike of Yermek Narymbayev ended on Tuesday when the dissident was taken to the hospital in a severe condition. The oppositionist's wife Zoya Narymbayev still doesn't know the exact location of her husband and is concerned about possible provocations. He's too weak to resist anything now, as in the last few days he was practically in the state of unconsciousness, and that is how he was taken to a hospital. Жасарал Куанышалин, an activist of the Committee on the Protection of Political Prisoners, says that starting October 5th, the authorities have 3 days to include the video of Narymbayev's detention to other case materials. If the demand will be ignored, the committee is ready to picket the court and prosecutor's office. So far, all appellate bodies left the initial verdict unchanged. He just asked to include a record of the fight to the case materials. Yermek Narymbayev was sentenced to 4 years for insulting the judge and resisting police actions. While in prison, the activist went on a hunger strike, claiming the court decision was politically motivated and demanding a revision. In the last 46 days, we witnessed criminal inaction of the authorities towards Yermek Narymbayev. This inhumane, cruel and unjustified attitude is pushing a person to a suicide. 6 days ago, Narymbayev also posted an ultimatum threatening to sew up his mouth and refuse drinking water. The authorities ignored the activist, but Narymbayev couldn't carry out his promises. There was no needle and a thread in the prison. According to Жасарал Куанышалин, Narymbayev's case will be reviewed by experts of the Kazakh Human Rights Bureau in the nearest future.